0-0, final whistle, Stadium of Light goes quiet. But inside the Manchester United dressing room, the noise is just beginning. Because what just happened in that 90 minutes against Sunderland is not just a drop result. It is a warning, a loud one. Michael Carrick rotated his squad. He gave chances to players on the fringes, and those players, in his own words, flattered to deceive. Meanwhile, Bruno Fernandes took an elbow to the face. No card was given, not even a yellow. VAR looked at it and did nothing. Harry Maguire was one of the only players who showed up at 33 years old. And that single fact is quietly rewriting the rules inside this football club. The summer window is coming. And the questions being asked right now at Old Trafford are bigger than one draw against Sunderland. Is this squad deep enough for Champions League football? Is the midfield being rebuilt properly? And who exactly is walking through that door this summer? Stay with me, because we are about to break all of it down. Before we go any further, let me be very clear about what is at stake here. Manchester United just drew 0-0 with Sunderland. That result on its own tells you something. But the deeper issue is what the game exposed. Michael Carrick rotated his squad, giving minutes to fringe players, and those fringe players failed to deliver. The manager described the game himself as squad players flattering to deceive. That is a serious statement, and it is a direct warning about what Manchester United currently lack in terms of squad quality and depth. Now think about what is coming. The evidence suggests that next season Manchester United will be playing in the Champions League. That means a completely different level of demand on the squad. Midweek European football, domestic competition, cup runs. You cannot go into that with the current depth. And that is exactly what Senne Lammens himself is now saying publicly, which we will get into very shortly. So the stakes here are real. This is not just about one draw in May. This is about whether Manchester United are building a squad that can genuinely compete on multiple fronts next season. If you are new to this channel and you want analysis that actually goes deeper than the headlines, hit that subscribe button right now. Adam United Analyst is where we break these stories apart properly. Every single week, hit subscribe and stay with us to the end of this video. The Angulo elbow. What actually happened and who said what? Let us start with the incident that has been getting the most attention since the final whistle. During the match, Sunderland substitute Nilson Angulo came on and while running back toward his own half, appeared to use his elbow against Bruno Fernandes in the face. The referee saw it. VAR reviewed it. And the outcome was nothing. No card. No action taken. Now let us go through exactly what the experts and former officials said, and then let us break down what it all means. First, from pundit Paul Merson, who described the situation this way. And I'm going to take you through exactly how he explained it. He said, Fernandes gets the ball, he has got his head up and goes to play it. Angulo, who has come on, is running back, and as he is running back, he just gives him a little elbow in the face. It is not major contact, but he is meant to do it. I think this could be a red card. Now let us pause on that. What Merson is identifying is intent. He is not saying it was a violent attack. He is saying the contact was deliberate. That is a very different thing. And in football, deliberate use of an elbow, even with limited force, is supposed to be punished. Next, former referee and ex-PGMOL boss Keith Hackett weighed in, and his assessment was slightly more measured but still damning for the officials involved. Keith Hackett said, there is no doubt that the Sunderland player has used his arm illegally and in a reckless manner, so for me, a yellow card minimum. The reason I have not moved to a red is because I feel it is lacking excessive force. When making a decision on a red card for illegal use of the hand or arm, I look very carefully at whether the hand is clenched and whether there is a backward movement of the arm, using the elbow as a weapon. So, yellow card minimum. Not red on this occasion, but very close. This is very important. A former head of PGMOL, the organisation that oversees refereeing in English football, is saying without any hesitation that the challenge warranted at minimum a yellow card. The referee gave nothing. That is a clear failure, and even the most cautious expert on refereeing is confirming it. Now let us bring in former referee Mike Dean, who gave his analysis and also provided something very revealing. He acknowledged that the incident had been checked. His words were, there is not a lot of force in it, but I do not understand why the player would run back and put his arm in and just put himself at risk. I am not sure what is happening. They have obviously had a look at it. They are not doing anything. They have just had a chat with Fernandes and check complete. You run the risk with VAR. That could have gone either way. And then came the moment that caught a lot of attention. Pundit Paul Merson pointed out that the Sunderland player was not even booked. Mike Dean replied, Well, it is May, is it not? The lead presenter, Simon Thomas, immediately challenged that response, saying, "What? It might be May for you, but the referee has still got a job to do, has he not?" Now, here is my analysis of this entire situation. What we have is 3 experienced refereeing voices and pundits all agreeing that a foul took place. All agreeing that, at minimum, a yellow card should have been issued. And all noting that VAR reviewed the situation and still did nothing. That is a significant failure of officiating. And Mike Dean's comment about it being May is not a justification. It is actually an accidental admission. The standards may drop at the end of the season. Simon Thomas was right to push back on that immediately. Bruno Fernandes was struck in the face. A body part was used illegally and recklessly. The officials had the technology to correct it. They chose not to. That is a problem for the game, and it is a problem that Manchester United have every right to feel aggrieved about. There is also a secondary story here about Fernandes that is worth discussing. After Xerxes made a poor decision in front of goal by crossing instead of pulling the ball back to the unmarked Fernandes, the Manchester United captain showed visible frustration. But here is what is interesting. Fernandes appeared to catch himself and then deliberately pretended to fix his boots in order to hide that frustration from his teammate. As Stephen Ralston described it, a different side of Fernandes' leadership skills appeared to be shown when Joshua Xerxes made the wrong choice by crossing into the box instead of pulling the ball back to the Portugal international, who was unmarked. Sunderland blocked the cross and it was sent for a corner. Chances were at a premium for United, so it was a costly mistake from Xerxes, and Fernandes' reaction was fascinating to watch. Fernandes placed his hands on his knees in frustration, but he appeared aware of the optics and shifted to pretend to sort his boots. The reaction seemed deliberate to disguise his disappointment with Xerxes. Xerxes stood with his hands on his hips. It was difficult to say whether the Dutchman had spotted Fernandes' reaction, but if the United captain meant to hide his frustration, it spoke volumes about his leadership. My analysis on this: what you are seeing from Fernandes is genuine leadership maturity. He is frustrated. The moment is costly. But he controls that emotion in real time because he understands that publicly showing disappointment in a teammate during a match damages team confidence. Whether Xerxes saw it or not almost does not matter. Fernandes made the right choice. That is what captains do. And it also tells us something about the pressure Fernandes is carrying. When your captain is that aware and that composed, even in a 0-0 draw with little going right, you understand the kind of leader Manchester United have in that armband. Senne Lammens speaks. Pride, honesty, and a clear message. Now let us move to Senne Lammens, the young goalkeeper who came in and became a genuine story this season. After the Sunderland draw, Lammens spoke openly and honestly, and what he said carries real weight. His first set of comments were personal and reflected genuine pride. He said, "I think I can be proud of this season. I somehow had the ideal opportunity and the perfect moment to join the team and grow with it. I think I had a lot to learn, and that I still have a lot to learn, but I had the chance to shine and help the team. So, yes, it was a very good season on a personal level. Collectively, too, we have made progress. Next season is going to be important. Everyone will have to do better. So we need to keep building on this foundation and try to improve." Now, that is a very honest and grounded statement from a young goalkeeper. He is not declaring himself the finished product. He is not making promises he cannot keep. He is saying, "I came in, I had a chance, I used it, and I know the work is not done." My analysis here is simple. That kind of mentality is exactly what a rebuilding club needs in a goalkeeper. Lammens does not appear to have arrived and assumed he has secured his position. He is aware that next season will require more from everyone. That self-awareness in a goalkeeper, who is naturally someone whose mistakes cost you goals, is actually a very important quality. But then Lammens went further. And this is where his comments became genuinely newsworthy. He was asked about whether Manchester United need more quality in the squad. His response was direct. He said, "It is a very hard league. Next year will be a hard program. So you want to get as many, or you want to have people in there who can come in when it is needed." I think, personally, we have a lot of quality already in the squad this year. But of course, next season is going to be a lot. And you also want to include injuries and stuff that can happen, just like today. A couple of guys injured, a couple of guys who normally always play. So those guys who are coming in and helping us out as well are very important. So we want to make a good and strong squad for next season. But also this season, I think we have been able to do that as well. One version of these comments from Centre Devil specifically added the context that the hard programme Lammens referred to is playing in the Champions League next season. My analysis on this is that Lammens has just done something publicly that is significant. A goalkeeper at a major football club rarely steps out and speaks this directly about squad building. But what Lammens is doing here is reinforcing what Michael Carrick's rotation showed in the Sunderland game. The squad depth is not yet at the level required. Lammens experienced it firsthand today. Key players were missing, others came in and struggled, and he is calling for action. He is not panicking, but he is being completely honest. That kind of directness from within the dressing room is something the club's leadership should take very seriously. Harry Maguire and the rule he rewrote at Manchester United. Now, this is a story that has been developing quietly for months, but it has now reached a point where it can no longer be ignored. When Ineos took over Manchester United, they arrived with a very specific philosophy about the kind of players they wanted. Every signing they made was younger than 28 years old at the time of arrival. The reasoning was simple. They wanted players in or approaching their peak years, not on the wrong side of 30. And they were willing to allow experienced players like Casemiro and Christian Eriksen to leave rather than extend their contracts. The term used to justify this approach was protecting book value. That was the rule. That was the Ineos philosophy. And then Harry Maguire happened. Maguire turned 33 in March. By every standard, Ineos had publicly established he should have been moved on. Instead, he earned a contract extension. And the reason he earned that extension is now on full display, week after week at Old Trafford. In the Sunderland game, Maguire was not one of the squad players who struggled. He was one of the few who genuinely impressed. The situation is that Sunderland targeted what they believed was Manchester United's soft defensive underbelly, but Maguire did not allow softness anywhere near him. He dominated his box. He flew into aerial duels. He blocked shots by throwing his body in front of the ball. And importantly, with Lisandro Martinez being troubled by Brian Brobby, Maguire held his own completely. In the absence of Matthijs de Ligt, Maguire has staged what can only be described as another renaissance. But this one is different from his previous comebacks. It is not because he was about to be sold. It is not because his contract was running out. It is because his performances have been so consistent, so reliable, and so important that they have actually forced Ineos to rethink one of their foundational squad-building principles. The evidence suggests that Maguire has now blazed the trail for a different kind of thinking inside Old Trafford. And the next name on that trail could be Bruno Fernandes. Think about that for a moment. Fernandes is also on the wrong side of 30 by Ineos standards in terms of their original philosophy. Yet the situation at the club is now changing because of what Maguire has shown. If a player is performing at a high level, if their conduct off the pitch remains exemplary, and if they are contributing meaningfully to results, Ineos appears willing to make exceptions. My analysis here is that Maguire's legacy at Manchester United may end up being about more than just his performances. He may have literally changed the way the club's ownership thinks about experienced players. That is a remarkable thing for someone who spent several years being one of the most criticised players in English football. The fact that he has turned it around to the point where he is influencing club policy is a story that deserves much more recognition than it currently gets. The transfer picture: Svilar, De Jong and Mateus Fernandes. Now let us get into the transfer stories that are building ahead of the summer window. First, Miles Svilar and the goalkeeper situation. The situation is that Manchester United remain interested in Miles Svilar, the Serbian goalkeeper who currently plays for AS Roma. The club are looking to add a top-class goalkeeper to create genuine competition for Senne Lammens in the position. Svilar is viewed as a strong option who could compete alongside Lammens rather than simply replace him. However, AS Roma are expected to demand a fee of around €60 million for the player. Manchester United are continuing to monitor the situation closely as the summer window approaches. My analysis here is straightforward. Lammens himself has just spoken about the need for a strong squad. Having two quality goalkeepers is part of that. A €60 million price tag is significant, and this is clearly still at the monitoring stage rather than a concrete deal being done. It would be inaccurate and unfair to Lammens to present this as his place being under immediate threat. What it is the club doing due diligence on how to strengthen every area of the squad. Second, let us talk about the Frenkie de Jong suggestion. Former Manchester United defender Jaap Stam has publicly put forward Frenkie de Jong as a summer signing, specifically as a replacement for the Casemiro role. Stam is enthusiastic in his recommendation. His words were, "I think Frenkie de Jong would be the ideal player. He is very good with the ball." We can talk about his physique in the Premier League, maybe, because if you look at the individual duels, the tackles, and the physical aspect, of course he is not the greatest. but he is a very good player. So if the opportunity presents itself for United, I would help them. I will cycle to Barcelona and bring him to United, no problem. Now, that last line is clearly a joke, and Stam delivers it with humour, but the substance of what he is saying is worth examining. My analysis is this. Stam himself acknowledges the physical concern in the Premier League. He praises the ball-playing ability, but flags that the defensive and physical side of things may be a question mark. It is important to be clear that this is a suggestion from a former player. It is not a confirmed target. It is not a rumour backed by any transfer source. It is an opinion from someone who wishes the club well. Manchester United fans should take it as exactly that. An interesting idea from a legend of the club, not news of an imminent signing. Now let us talk about the most significant transfer story in this space, Mateus Fernandes. The situation here is that Manchester United have stepped up their interest in Mateus Fernandes, the 21-year-old Portuguese midfielder currently at West Ham United. Multiple midfield targets are being monitored by the club this summer. But Mateus Fernandes has moved high up that list for a very specific reason. West Ham United are on the verge of being relegated to the Championship. If they fail to survive in the Premier League, the reality for the club is that holding on to their best players becomes almost impossible. And Mateus Fernandes is exactly the kind of player who will not want to drop into the second tier of English football when top clubs across Europe are watching him. The evidence suggests that Fernandes has had an exceptional debut season in English football. He has appeared in 35 matches and contributed towards 7 goals. He can play in multiple midfield roles, though he prefers the central position. His performances have drawn attention from Manchester United and a number of other clubs who are all watching West Ham's survival fight very closely. The logic for Manchester United is clear. With Casemiro having left the club and Manuel Ugarte considered likely to be sold, there is a significant midfield rebuild required. Mateus Fernandes represents a young, versatile, high-performing option who could be available at a lower price, precisely because of West Ham's situation. That is the window of opportunity that Manchester United appear to be positioning themselves to exploit. However, it is critical to be honest here. This is a rumour. This is not a done deal. This is not even a confirmed bid. It is accurate to say that Manchester United have stepped up their monitoring and interest, but no agreement is in place. West Ham are still fighting for survival, and there are multiple clubs watching the same situation. Manchester United are not alone in this. My analysis is that this is a smart piece of business intelligence from the club. You identify a player who is performing above expectations. You identify a situation at his club that may force a sale. You position yourself early. Whether it actually becomes a transfer depends on several factors, including whether West Ham go down, whether the player chooses Manchester United over other interested clubs, and whether the fee is right. But the fact that the club have moved to intensify their efforts early is encouraging. It suggests a level of forward planning that has not always been associated with Manchester United's recruitment in recent years. Let us now pull all of this together and think about what the full picture looks like as Manchester United approach the final weeks of this season and begin positioning for the summer. The Sunderland draw was not a disaster, but it was a reminder. When key players are missing and the squad depth is tested, Manchester United are not yet good enough to control matches the way they need to control them. Michael Carrick's decision to rotate was understandable, but the result confirms what several people around the club are now saying openly. The squad needs strengthening. Senne Lammens has said it. He has been careful and respectful in how he said it, but the message is clear. More quality is needed. More depth is needed. Champions League football next season demands it. Senne Lammens also gave us something else with his post-match interview. He gave us a picture of a young goalkeeper who is humble enough to know he is still learning, proud enough to feel good about what he has done this season, and honest enough to acknowledge that next season requires everyone to be better. That is exactly the mentality this club needs as it rebuilds. Harry Maguire gave the club something different but equally valuable. He gave them a reason to challenge their own assumptions. Ineos came in with a very specific philosophy. Young players, book value, no sentiment. And Maguire, by performing at this level at 33 years old, has forced them to ask whether that philosophy is always right. The answer, it now appears, is that it is not. Experience, professionalism, and consistent high-level performance are worth protecting regardless of age. If that lesson now extends to Bruno Fernandes, which the evidence suggests it may, then Maguire will have done something for this club that goes far beyond what happens on a match day. The transfer conversations happening around the club are real, but early. Svilar represents a genuine ambition to compete at the highest level in goal. Mateus Fernandes represents a smart opportunity to add youth, quality and versatility to the midfield. Frenkie de Jong represents a suggestion from a club legend that may or may not have legs in the real world. None of these stories are finished. The summer has not started. But the picture being painted is one of a club that is thinking carefully, moving with purpose, and beginning to understand what it needs to compete again. And that is what we are here to track. This has been Adam United Analyst. If you found this analysis valuable, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below telling me which of these stories you think matters most for Manchester United this summer. Is it the midfield rebuild? Is it the goalkeeper situation? Is it the Maguire contract extension and what it means for Bruno Fernandes? Let me know your thoughts. I will be back soon with the next breakdown. Until then, keep watching, keep thinking, and stay with the analysis.